The PlayStation 5 is a great all-in-all console with its next-generation graphics performance, amazing DualSense controller, and an extremely fast storage. Even if that custom storage isn't enough in terms of capacity, they have an extra PCIe Gen 4 slot for you to expand. Good news, you can buy these SSDs right now on the market, but bad news, they are way too expensive. So your last resort is getting an external drive, and USB-C standards have come so far that they are capable of some ridiculously good speeds. This Kingston DataTraveler Max is exactly that, and it just might be the drive you're looking forward in expanding your gaming library. So let's talk about this particular drive in this video, so let's not waste any time and get right into it, and you're watching The Adventures of Vesper. Let's begin. Now, unlike any other drives you find that consist of a storage capacity beyond a certain limit, right? The Kingston DataTraveler Max comes in an extremely small, pocket-sized form factor that can fit into almost any kind of space. You can see literally connected it to the PS5. This looks like any other flash drive, honestly, except that it's longer due to the fact that it carries more flash memory chips in it than your average USB-C drive or USB drive in general. The plastic enclosure is pretty neat with its texture on top for you to have a very nice grip for you to open it and closely, very nicely. And at the end, you have a hole for you to hang it onto your lanyard or even a keychain. Now let's just jump right into specification, because it's safe to say that the DataTraveler Max has the right kind of specification to take advantage with our current systems today. That said, we received the 1TB version of the DataTraveler Max, and it uses a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port, no Type-A port on it, so it's exclusively Type-C, has a 1000 megabits per second read speed and a 900 megabits per second write speed. And that's about it, honestly. Now, if you want a lower capacity, Kingston is offering it in a 256 gig variant and also a 512 gig variant. But if you ask me, getting the 512 gig variant or this 1 TB variant makes more sense, as you're already forking out good money for this, so you just might as well get the bigger capacity, I would say. Now, rather than using it for the usual PC task and doing our crystal disk benchmark and so on, we decided to try this drive for our PlayStation 5 because consoles are getting popular and PlayStation 5 has been on an all-time high of a demand. So which is why Kingston even said that it's actually a good drive for the PlayStation 5, and given that we have a PlayStation 5 right here, we decided to use the drive for it. Now remember, the PlayStation 5 has a USB Type-C port on the front and none on the back. So if you're going to connect it, make sure you connect it on the front and it's connected safely so that it doesn't get knocked or hit. So we have connected the Kingston DT Max onto the PlayStation 5, and we're gonna show you guys how to set it up and how the experience is like. Now moving into the settings where we're gonna do the change or making sure that the drive is enabled, the first thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna enter into the extended storage. But before that, this is the internal SSD, this is the extended storage. Now the USB extended storage is kind of like a external hard drive or external storage, and as the name suggests. Now the whole idea is that this drive allows you to play most of your games from a secondary drive. Just like how you would install a PCIe Gen 4 drive in the secondary slot, this is going to be an extended storage instead. Now the beauty of this extended storage is that this can be your dedicated PlayStation 4 library, since the PlayStation 5 is kind of backwards compatible where you can play PlayStation 4 titles on a PlayStation 5. Now in those cases, those PlayStation 4 games were running on hard drives and SSDs, people after upgrading, by the way. So those speeds were like capped at 500 megabits per second in terms of read and write. So this one definitely fills that quota because it touches about 1000 megabits per second in reads and 900 megabits per second in terms of writes. So in that case, this drive qualifies as a very good PlayStation 4 title, or like a dedicated PlayStation 4 drive. Now, if you are planning to use this drive for PlayStation 5 games, you can actually store those games from the internal storage over to the external flash drive, but unfortunately you won't be able to play from the external flash drive due to the whole PCIe Gen 4 speeds and how they have optimized the game to make sure that the game load times are all fast and whatnot. So this is literally hardwired and you can't do anything about it, so that's something that you really need to take note of. And if you plan to use the drive on a PlayStation 4, it's also backwards compatible in terms of the drive, but unfortunately this is a USB-C drive, so which means the PlayStation 4 does not have a USB-C port from what I know, so chances are you won't be able to use it. But yeah, once you enter inside, you will have to format it from the exFAT to the USB extended storage, and we're going to do that. It's going to be a very quick process, so just make sure that there isn't any files in it. Just press yes, it's formatting, and it's done. So right after you format it, the PlayStation 5 will allocate that extended drive as a dedicated PlayStation 4 games and apps drive. So which means by default right now, every single PlayStation 4 stuff is going to get downloaded into that drive, and it's going to dedicate the drive to PlayStation 4 stuff. Now you can press OK and move on to the installation location, and you can see right here the PlayStation 4 games and apps are now on the USB extended storage, and the PlayStation 5 you cannot use it for the extended storage. So that's the whole process, and right now what we're going to do is we're going to start the game with the internal SSD, and later on we're going to move the game onto the DT Max and show you guys the difference playing with the external drive. And for that I'm going to use God of War because this is one of the games that I've actually started with the PlayStation 4 games. So we're just going to go into the game. And as you can see right here, whatever that you see right now, it's all happening from the internal PCIe Gen 4 SSD. So yeah, just enjoy the game, and I suppose just give it about a few minutes for the game to load. So you can see right here, it does take a bit of a time to load, despite the fact that this game is already in a PCIe Gen 4 drive. And yeah, just give it a bit of a time, and I'm gonna show you a bunch of gameplay, I suppose, for a game that's already out, and for PC users it's already out, so you can actually buy the game on PC as well. Okay, we should be in the game right now. Okay, cool. So as you can see right here, I'm actually moving around. Gonna talk to the boy. So you can see the graphics is pretty neat, the conversation looks pretty smooth, and let's just switch to a combat, shall we? Okay, so okay, cool. I think you should generate like health or something by now. Okay. Okay, cool. I'm gonna die soon. Well, it's okay because I'm not playing the game for the game right now, because I'm gonna show you guys how the game works and how fast the internal SSD is as compared to the external drive. Okay, getting my ass whooped. Anytime now. Okay, so now that was from the basically from the internal drive. We're gonna go home, we're gonna close the game and move the game over to the external drive. Now, in order for that to happen, you have to go to the settings again and go to storage, choose your console storage, choose games and apps. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look for God of War, because that's the only game I'm going to test, and it's the smallest capacity. So what we're going to do is we're going to select item to move, and we're going to move this game over to the extended storage. So once you hit move, it's going to show you the disclaimer. Basically, if it's a PlayStation 5 game, you won't be able to play from the extended storage, so you have to put it in the M.2 SSD. So this is not a PlayStation 5 game, it's a PlayStation 4 title, so we're going to move it over to the external drive. So just make sure that the drive does not get unplugged or anything. Give it a bit of time for it to move.
One eternity later.
We're gonna go to extended storage and you can see the games and apps. We have God of War in here. So now we're gonna launch the game from scratch on the PlayStation 5 using the DataTraveler Max. And if you're wondering or if it's still inside the external storage, yes it is. Now the moment you move a game from the PlayStation 5 over to an external drive like the DataTraveler Max, you will actually see this symbol right here. This symbol indicates that the game is going to be loaded from the USB extended storage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch the game now. You can see the difference. It's pretty much not easy to tell. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you can see earlier, it took about 3 to 4 times, and right now you have about 5 to 6 times, to see the logo blinking. So which means there is a slightly longer duration for it to take to load a game. We can see in this screen because it took about 4 times. Let's see the drive. So you can once again see, okay, now we're starting from here. Let me just reduce the sound. But you can see that the game performs the way it should. There aren't significantly bigger difference for you to tell that the game is extremely slow or something. Probably maybe the loading times are slow, but otherwise, the game really plays well. So right now we are actually at this part of the game. You can see Stranger is getting his health back. And now we're gonna get into the combat again to show you guys that we are playing from the DataTraveler Max. Okay. Okay, we're gonna enter rage mode. Okay, let's do this.
One eternity later.
I think we're done with this mission anyway. So right now I'll be heading back, and I think perhaps this is a good place to pause the video. So you can see right here the difference between the internal SSD and using the DataTraveler Max. It's actually slightly different. Now obviously with the M.2 SSD that's baked right into the system, you actually get extremely fast loading speeds because of the 7,000 megabits per second reads and writes, like a thing about there. And with the external drive, you get the same speed as a PlayStation 4 hard drive or close to an SSD. We are talking about SATA based SSD that's capped at 500 megabits per second. Now in that case, this is actually a fantastic drive, and despite the probably few seconds longer load times, the game actually plays really well. And you can actually see just now in the combat, you didn't see any sort of frame drops or any stuttering or any issues with the drive, keeping up, when it comes to delivering the graphics and the content on screen. It's as responsive as you would like, and you won't be able to tell the difference when you're really playing a game like just now. So you can see right here moving around, it's actually pretty good, and there aren't any loss of like graphics, for instance. The response is actually pretty good. It really keeps up very well. So this is actually one of the reasons why PlayStation will ask you to format that drive in their required format. So in that case, I think the DataTraveler Max is pretty fantastic. Now that's all we have to say about the DataTraveler Max. Honestly, it's a very nice purchase for your console because it uses an USB Type-C port exclusively, and given the fact that a lot of people are investing their money onto a console like this PlayStation 5, it makes sense to get a drive like this to expand your library and even perhaps archive your library in a sense, so that when you want to play some games back, you can always connect the drive back, move it back to the internal SSD, and have a great time out of it. Now obviously it's gonna come at a pretty penny because I mean, product like this doesn't come at a cheap price. And this one right here, I think as of right now on Shopee Malaysia, you can actually see the price going for 699 at the official store, whereas the SRP is about close to 899. I think at 700 bucks, this is actually a very portable drive, because engineering a 1 terabyte drive into such a form factor and having amazing speeds is not easy. So yeah. And if you really want the 512 gig version, or even the 256 for that matter, because each of our preferences vary or our use cases vary, so in that cases you can also check them out. And we have all the links in the article and the link down in the description below, so make sure to check that out. And hope you guys enjoyed this review, and once again, huge thanks to Kingston for providing us this drive, for making this content happen. And we will catch you guys in the upcoming content that we are going to make here at the Adventures of Vesper. Thank you so much for watching. Until then, this is Pretty Red signing off. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon. Bye.